Hello, welcome to Transfer Talk. We're going to hear live from two Premier League managers over the next hour as the final 3 days of the transfer window ramps up. Will Conor Gallagher be going back to Palace? Patrick Vieira, he's coming up. Wesley Fofana is set for a medical ahead of his £70 million move to Chelsea. But will Thomas Tuchel's spending stop there? Manchester United are about to spend over £200 million in the transfer window as Antony prepares to join Erik ten Hag's side. OK, stand by because we're going to be hearing live from Patrick Vieira, the Crystal Palace manager, in just a moment. Palace started the season pretty well despite that defeat by Manchester City over the weekend. Will Zaha missed that game. We can hear from the Crystal Palace manager now. He's talking live.
The only focus again is the game on tomorrow. Honestly, we have to bounce back after the defeat against City, and it's about recovering and try to cover some part of the game that we need to improve, and we will have time to talk about what we need to do on the market. You know, the club knows what we need, and there are people who are working on see if we can make it happen or not.
Talking about maybe things in the works, the Times are reporting you've sent a bid in for £27 million for Conor Gallagher, Chelsea, a player you know well. The Times are reporting it. Is
the way that you're talking is look like the 27 million was on the table, so I don't know what you...
But is he someone you would like to see back at the club before the deadline?
Listen, it's difficult to talk about players who are in the football club. So you mentioned Conor. Conor is a Chelsea player. Until Chelsea said otherwise, it's not point for us to think about what it may not be possible to do. We have people around who are working on trying to improve the squad because, like I always said, we are short of numbers. We need players, and we will try to bring those players. And if not, again, I'm quite really happy with the players that we have, and we will work and we will try to win football matches.
With this window, it's obviously quite unique with the amount of games coming up and the World Cup around the corner. Do you ever think, if you were back playing, how you maybe would find it? You know,
I never think about it because I'm not playing anymore, so I don't have to put myself on those kind of position. It's a really busy period. It's going to be a lot of games. And that's why we have, again, the chairman, the sportive director at the football club who are focusing on that side of the business, I will say it. And my job is to concentrate on the game tomorrow. We definitely talk about the profile of the players that we want. They have all the information and they will try to do it. And I will concentrate on the games coming up.
And just team news ahead of Brentford. I know you were missing a few against Man City. Wilfried Zaha as well was missing. How are they looking ahead of tomorrow?
We have to wait and see tomorrow. They did some training individually and some team training, and we have to wait and see how they will recover tomorrow.
Thank you, Patrick.
Hi, Alex. Sorry.
Hi there. After Saturday's defeat to City, you said you were pleased with the performance of your players as you have been in the majority of games so far this season. Of course, every Premier League game is very much different, but how different a challenge are you expecting from Brentford tomorrow compared to what you got from City on Saturday?
Well, just remember the last games that we played against them last year was quite really challenging at home and away from home. It's a team that physically really strong, working quite really hard, and you know the opposition team don't create very much. So it will be a different challenging where I believe the possession will be more balanced for both teams. But yes, it will be a difficult opposition, of course.
That's Patrick Vieira, the Crystal Palace manager, talking live on Sky Sports News. They take on Brentford tomorrow evening. 2 defeats in their first 4 games for Palace. I'm sure Palace fans would say that it has been a fairly positive start to the season. Interesting team news there. They have to make a late decision on Wilf Zaha and also Tyrick Mitchell on transfers. We directly put to him that story that's been reported by the Times today that Crystal Palace have made a £27 million offer for Conor Gallagher. as you might expect, Patrick Vieira wasn't too keen to give us too many details of that. He said, you're talking like that bid is already on the table. But he did say that he didn't want to talk about players that aren't at Crystal Palace. He said Conor Gallagher is a Chelsea player, but he did say they are short of numbers. We need players. He's given all the information and the profile and the types of players that he would like to bring in to the hierarchy at Crystal Palace. Now it is up to them. On the other side of that, though, he did also point out that he would be happy if the window closed tomorrow and it was the current squad that he has at his disposal. Interesting thoughts there from the Crystal Palace manager, Patrick Vieira. Just on Conor Gallagher, he's obviously a player that Crystal Palace fans know well, Michael, and he's going to be a player that we're going to be talking about over the next few days. It wasn't a direct no, was it, from Patrick Vieira on Conor Gallagher?
No, it's not a direct no, because they love him and they would like him back, you know, and Crystal Palace aren't the only club in the Premier League that would like to bring Conor Gallagher to their club. Now, it's an interesting one with Gallagher because, like I said on here last week, I watched the game Leeds against Chelsea and I felt like Conor Gallagher was on trial. I thought, was he potentially trying a little bit too hard? Is he in the right position? Then the game on Saturday, he gets sent off, two second yellows. So it hasn't been a great start for him back at Chelsea. I know he's so determined to get into that Chelsea side, be a regular there. He didn't want any more loans in pre-season. But as we say with him and a number of other players, this is a World Cup year and he won't want to sit on the bench when Gareth Southgate starts thinking about his squad. There are reports that a bid has been made from Crystal Palace. My understanding is there hasn't been a bid yet. But would there be one? Yeah, possibly over the next few days. But do I think we'll be talking about Gallagher on deadline day? Yes. Does Patrick Vieira want a couple more bodies in? Yes.
There'll be clubs queuing up for Conor Gallagher.
Yeah, Crystal Palace feels the best fit. Obviously, he's been there before. He had a very good season with them last time round. So I think Vieira had a little glint in his eye there. I mean, we can't judge anything by glints in eyes, but I just feel like there might be something that might be coming along with that. And it very much depends on what Chelsea do themselves. If Chelsea are to bring in a central midfielder, then Conor Gallagher is someone who's definitely going to be on the move. But like you say, a lot of different clubs, a lot of different options. It's important for him to choose the right one. If it does come to him leaving, then Crystal Palace would probably be right up there.
And Wilf Zaha's another player, late fitness shout on him, but we've been talking about him because he's got a year to go on his contract. And Patrick Vieira said there, you know, I'd be really happy if the window closed and we have all the players still here, and that would obviously point towards Wilf Zaha.
Yeah, he's massive for Crystal Palace. I said last week on the show, I think he's the difference between them finishing 16th and 9th. You know, I think he could add so much to that side. And I think the most exciting thing for Patrick Vieira is that relationship he's built with Eberechi Eze. Together, they just look like a really formidable, you know, front two that can just have that understanding and link up play. And absolutely, he needs to stay at Palace as far as they're concerned. You just wonder whether one of those big clubs will look at his experience and what he's done at Palace, the fact that he's got the ability to play in multiple positions, and he just would bring something extra to any side that maybe they just might have a punt on him with 1 year left on his current contract. So it's definitely going to be a name to watch over the course of the next few days.
Yeah, it's a midweek round of fixtures, so we're going to be hearing from lots of Premier League managers, hoping to hear live as well from the Fulham manager Marco Silva a little bit later on in the programme. Let's move on now. Wesley Fofana is set to undergo his Chelsea medical today ahead of a £70 million move from Leicester, and has reportedly flown to the USA for the tests in order to give peace of mind to owner Todd Boehly. So on Wesley Fofana, this medical happening now, does the signing of him and him being involved in that Chelsea squad, does that move their strength in depth closer to Manchester City, to Liverpool, the top two teams?
I think it certainly elevates Chelsea. I think it puts them in the conversation for the Champions League as well, obviously a trophy they won a couple of years ago. If you look at that back three of Fofana, Thiago Silva and Koulibaly, we were saying earlier, that's a fantastic collection of players to be in a back three. You then got Reece James coming back into his natural position as right wing back. He's played a little bit at right centre half this season, not convinced it fully suits him. And then the options of Chilwell or Cucurella at left wing back. Chelsea suddenly have a formidable defence there, and it's a defence obviously with the wing backs as well that's very good going forward. I think that elevates Chelsea. That back three has got a little bit of everything. And Fofana, I'm convinced he's going to go on and become one of the best in the world. For Chelsea to have him, we were saying earlier, that's one of your centre-backs for the next 10 years there. I think you look at them and they'd suddenly be very, very strong. And if they can get the front situation sorted as well, Chelsea are looking a strong outfit and have had a very, very strong window.
Yeah, they've obviously lost Rudiger as well, and they've lost his pace. So Wesley Fofana coming in would certainly replace that from a Chelsea point of view. Question marks over the price. I mean, we've talked a lot about Manchester United in this transfer window and the prices that they've paid for players. Does the price seem a fair one to you for Wesley Fofana?
Well, did Leicester overpay St Etienne for him? No. I mean, you know, if he goes on to be a Chelsea defender for the next 10 years, then the answer is no. You know, it is a lot of money, but we're seeing some big deals all around now, aren't we? I mean, Wesley Fofana is a very, very good player, highly regarded by Brendan Rodgers, and I think out of all the players, this will hurt Brendan Rodgers more than any of them, I feel. You know, he thinks the absolute world of this player, doesn't he? So, look, Thomas Tuchel's wanted this centre-half for quite some time now. They thought Jules Koundé was heading there. So I don't think he'll be completely satisfied until this gets done. So, yeah, look, it is a lot of money, but Todd Boehly has shown the Chelsea fans and showed his head coach that they've got it.
I was going to say, I just think, as Michael touched upon there, I think so many deals that have happened this summer look to be overpriced. But it's not like it's an isolated player that's being sold for a huge amount of money. You could argue Forest have paid too much for Morgan Gibbs-White. You could argue that Manchester United signing Martinez and Antony from Ajax for in excess of £160 million for just two players is overpriced. Cucurella could be overpriced at 62 million. You could make an argument for all of these players, but I think collectively that's just the current market, and that's what clubs have to operate in. They can only buy players at what they can get them for, and it's either miss out on them or pay a little bit more, but deliver the product which you think could be there for a number of years to come.
Absolutely. I mean, as Dan mentioned there about elevation, I mean, a lot of people we love all love our predictions in the summer, don't we? And I mean, a lot of people are saying that Chelsea, no, this is the year I can see them falling out of the top four, blah, blah. But if they don't sign these players, then maybe there was a chance, because Arsenal started really well, Tottenham have started well. You'd expect Liverpool and City to be in the top two, but obviously Manchester City goes without saying. So how much money would it be, the difference between third and fourth instead of fifth? It pays for itself when you bring in these players sometimes.
Getting into the Champions League, winning the Champions League could be worth 100 million. Getting into the Champions League could be worth, I think it's a minimum of about 40 million. If you progress through to the stages after Christmas, then it's worth more money. So one signing that takes you to that next level could pay for itself in 1 year's worth of Champions League money. That's how vital it is to get into the top four and to progress as far as you can in the competition. And to win it, that's where you start to make real money.
Well, if you want to have your say, you can. It's #TransferTalk. If you're out and about, you can watch the show live right now. Hello, YouTube. We're asking you right now on there, is Wesley Fofana a good signing for Chelsea? 65% are saying yes. Have your say. Plenty to come. Will Cristiano Ronaldo remain a Manchester United player? We'll discuss his future with our Portuguese football expert, Pedro Sepulveda. That's next. Breaking news to bring you from Manchester United surrounding one of the biggest deals of the window so far. We're told that Antony is expected to arrive in Manchester today ahead of having a medical and finalising that £85.4 million move from Ajax to Manchester United. Now, reminder, he has to be registered by midday on Wednesday to be available for United's Premier League game at Leicester City on Thursday. It's thought that at this stage is unlikely, as Antony has to sort a visa and work permit. United face Arsenal at Old Trafford on Sunday, so that could be a potential debut for Antony. Also, a development to bring you on Manchester United's pursuit of the Newcastle United goalkeeper Martin Dubravka. The two clubs remain in talks. Now, we're told that Dubravka has made it clear to Newcastle that he wants to make the move after falling behind Nick Pope at St James's Park. He's now the number 2 there. This is where it gets slightly more complicated. United want to do a loan with an option which would then become an obligation to buy. That would depend on a certain number of appearances being made by Dubravka. It's thought the clubs at this stage can't come to an agreement on that figure, so the number of games that would trigger the obligation to buy. So that's where we stand on both Antony and Martin Dubravka this afternoon here on Transfer Talk. Get in touch if you want to have your say. So Antony is going to be in the country for the £85.4 million move. The medical is happening, set to be sorted out over the coming hours and days. They've been chasing him all window. Michael, we've been talking about overpaying for players on this programme already. Should we be talking about the fee? Should we be talking about how long it's taken United to get this deal done? Or is it simply that because it's happened so late in the window, they've had to pay a premium?
Yeah, they've probably had to pay more because it is so late. Will Ajax be able to get a replacement in time? That's the problem as well. Of course, United have had other targets as well. Frankie de Jong, we've been talking about for the last 2 to 3 months. But look, let's put it on a positive spin. Clearly a very, very good player, and it's clearly someone Erik ten Hag really, really wants at his football club. Yes, they're paying extra, but as I say, what are we now, Dave? 3 days to go. I think the key is now, let's just get this deal done, and if he's a success, like a number of transfers in history, you don't really talk about them when they've gone well, the fee, but you talk about them when they don't go so well. So I think from United fans' point of view now is that this is a manager who wants this player a lot, and he's close to getting him.
If they didn't get him, they'd be getting absolutely slated now. So when they actually are going to get him now, I think it's a bit harsh to criticise the fee and look at it, especially when the money is how it is at the moment. I think just backing the manager and letting the manager have a player that he really, really wants, I think probably Manchester United should just be commended for that, really, at this point.
I mean, he's going to become one of Manchester United's most expensive signings ever when this deal is confirmed, if this deal gets confirmed, which it's looking likely it is now. And when you look at Manchester United's most expensive signings, it doesn't feel like there's too many successes on that list.
No.
Pressure for Antony.
Huge pressure for him. He's clearly a player that Ten Hag has identified with, like Michael says. It's still too soon to judge, and I don't want to sound like I'm just repeating what Michael said, but he makes a valid point, an excellent point. No one will care about how much money is spent on a player if he goes on to become a superstar. And that's what Manchester United are looking for. They're looking for players that can have an impact, that can walk away from Old Trafford in 5-10 years' time having won multiple titles. That's what Manchester United players are judged on. When you leave this football club, are you up there with the likes of Paul Scholes or Gary Neville or Wayne Rooney or Rio Ferdinand? Regardless of how much money that's been spent on you, that's the most important thing. And I did a little bit of research, and we spoke about it on Good Morning Transfers, some of the signings that Manchester United have made, and we've got a graphic that just illustrates this at the moment. Now, when you look at those Manchester United signings, their most expensive signings, how many of those are actually classed as players that have worked out for the football club? Paul Pogba, you could probably say no. He'd argue that he walked away a World Cup winner, so therefore he'd say, well, it was great for me, but for the club certainly wasn't. Lukaku the same. Antony, of course, an asterisk there because it's not been confirmed. Where will he be on the list of success stories down the line? Harry Maguire, you'd argue that he hasn't quite been as effective as they hoped he had been. The same with Jadon Sancho, although I'll just point out he's only 22 years old. There's still time for Jadon to develop. And Casemiro, again, on that list. Now, if you look at the signings that Sir Alex Ferguson made and the players that he signed whilst at Manchester United, and those that went on to become icons and legends at the football club, it's very different to that list. And I think that's the significant thing there is that these players that they're signing, regardless of the money, how many of those will go on to become superstars for that football club?
And I think the price of United spending so far is going to be more than £200 million once this deal gets confirmed for Antony. So that's where it stands at the moment.
But you look at that list, though, Dave. I mean, Malacia played really well against Liverpool, didn't he? And I think, wasn't he man of the match? Or you know, they picked him out as one of the best players on the field. Eriksen, for me, I'm sure will have a successful season. Lisandro Martinez had 2 games written off, but then was fantastic against Liverpool and clean sheet against Southampton. Casemiro is a winner. You'd question the fee there maybe with the age and the contract length, but once again, if United go on to finish, they have to, you know, what's it, top 4? I mean, we can debate this all day long, can't we? But last week when they lost to Brentford, I heard they were going to finish in the bottom half. They're going to have a terrible season. But it all changes after a couple of wins, doesn't it?
The thing is, if you look at that, if you had £226 million to go and spend at the start of the transfer window, could you have done better recruitment than what Manchester United have done? That would be the big question. You look at the likes of Jesus, Zinchenko, Nunez, Haaland. Could they have recruited better if they'd had that transfer pot and gone out and identified players? I think the big thing for Manchester United fans is the length of time it's taken to get to where they are now. Yeah. They're in the last knock-ins of the window, so naturally you're going to pay more than what you'd like.
Ajax are a proud club and they're a very well-run club. However, when you're a very, very good player at Ajax, it's rare in this day and age you stay at Ajax for the rest of your career. You're going to go and move on to a club with a lot more money. But do they look at it, their transfer team, their directors, and say, "We took our manager, you've taken our central defender, we're going to keep Antony for now, and we're going to see how we get on until the end of the summer"?
I'd love to know what Manchester United fans think about taking players from the Eredivisie and how many of those players that have come over from that league to the Premier League and had an instant impact and been legends when you look at Premier League players. And I think that might be a slight concern. I'm fascinated to see how this project plays out. And Erik ten Hag has certainly turned things around, which is great for United fans. But will they be where they want to be? And that's in the top 4 minimum.
Yeah, we're running a poll on our YouTube channel as well, which we are streaming live on. Will Antony be value for money? It's been pretty even split, 53% saying yes, he will prove to be value for money. So it seems, those of you watching on YouTube, a little bit split on that one. Next on Transfer Talk, we'll bring you the thoughts of the Fulham boss, Marco Silva. He's going to be talking to us live. Welcome back to Transfer Talk. We're due to hear live from the Fulham boss, Marco Silva, very, very shortly. In the meantime, another day, another signing at Nottingham Forest. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 17 now? They've confirmed the signing of Atletico Madrid fullback Renan Lodi on a season-long loan. How good is this signing, Dan, for Nottingham Forest?
I wouldn't know what to do if I wasn't here talking about Forest at some point in the show. So honestly, I don't think I've been here and Forest not signed a player yet. So I'm impressed with this one. I think it's a massive show of intent to pull a player from Atletico Madrid who, has been a Champions League regular, played a lot of games for them last season, will have eyes on the World Cup himself as well. To pull him in, Forest have obviously signed a couple of left wing backs already, but Omar Richards has picked up an injury. I think the timescale on him coming back at the moment is unknown. So to make a big signing like this on loan is a real statement of intent from Nottingham Forest. And yes, they've signed a lot of players, but they needed to. That's the nature of a team that comes up the way Nottingham Forest did. If you've got lots of players on loan, lots of ageing players out of contract, you have to make signings. Yes, they've made more than we probably would have expected, but there's a lot of good players in there. And when you watch Forest, they still look a team, which is testament to Steve Cooper, because it's not easy to coach all those new players coming in at one time, and I think he's doing an excellent job. Yeah, well, just on that then, you mentioned that they look like a proper team, and Steve Cooper talked about that in his post-match interview yesterday. Did they look a team to you that have settled into Premier League life?
Definitely. I think one of the key things for Steve Cooper and his backroom team when they got promoted to the Premier League is that they didn't want to change the structure, the philosophy, the style of football. They did a lot of analysis on teams that had got promoted from the second tier, and they'd realised that a lot of them had become more defensive, and they'd tweaked the way they wanted to play, and they lost what they were about and what got them success. And Steve Cooper said, this is absolutely not going to be the case at Forest. We will play in exactly the same attacking, expansive way that we did in the Championship. And you've seen that so far in the early stages of the Premier League. This is their summer signings. We won't talk about them all individually because we'd be here all day. They had 8 players that were in that squad at Wembley in May when they got promoted, so they had to replace them immediately. So they were always going to be busy over the course of the summer. And this is page 2. It's like the old CFAX days, isn't it, where the results go over several pages.
Showing your age there, Mark.
Yeah, I am actually. So you can see there the summer signings, page 2. Most of them have had an impact so far, but this is the most fascinating thing when you look at the money that's spent in Europe this summer. This is not just the Premier League, this is in Europe, and the top spenders, of course, Chelsea at the moment. But Nottingham Forest, £152.6 million spent so far. They are definitely above Barcelona, Manchester United, Tottenham and West Ham, as well as a number of other big sides in European football spending more money than most of them, and I think that tells the story. But what you're seeing, to go back to your early point, is a togetherness, a spirit, an exciting front 3 or 4. They've got strength in depth. They've got options across the whole team. I think, and most crucially, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, the most important signing that Nottingham Forest could make this season is to stick with Steve Cooper until May. That's key. If things don't go quite so well and they think, well, we need to make a change, we need to bring someone else in because we've got a great group of players, that would be a huge mistake. They've got to stick with Steve right to the end, and if they do that, based on the way they played in the early stages of this season, there's no way they'll go down. Well,
there is a poll on our YouTube channel. Have Nottingham Forest made too many signings? 61% at the moment saying yes, they have. But I think Mark has outlined the reasons why they needed to make those signings. Other lines coming into us, there could be an 18th, there could be a 19th signing at Nottingham Forest. Serge Aurier close to completing his move to Nottingham Forest. They're also in advanced talks with the Wolves centre-back Willy Boly over a move as well. Let's move away from Nottingham Forest and talk Fulham, because Marco Silva is speaking to the media. Fulham face Brighton tomorrow. Let's hear from the Fulham manager live.
That's the reality. We have been repeating every single press conference the same thing. I have to say again, or simple, don't say anything more. But no updates from the last 2 weeks. We have spoken about that situation. Anything new?
After your game against Arsenal on Saturday, you were full of praise for the side, but said that you felt they need help. I wonder, what reinforcements are you looking for?
I think it's so clear for everyone. The board knows from last April, not from last week or last 15 days or last month. They know from last April last May what was the plan and what we should do in the market, and they know. And unfortunately, they are coming really late for us because we already played 4 games at this level, and all the points, they will be really important for us. I'm really pleased the way you are playing, the way you are performing some moments, the way you are matching all our opponents as well. I'm really pleased for the players. Not important to say how many or the positions. I think everyone that can see and can analyze our team, they can see what are the positions that really we need to add some numbers. I think is clear for everyone.
I know that you don't want to give a running commentary because you and I have had this conversation before, but can I ask you about Kurzawa? Because we understand you were chatting to PSG about him. Is that something you'd be prepared to give a comment on?
No, as I told you, some of the other players that you asked me as well about names and rumors, and some can be true, the other can be not the reality or not show the reality. I will not speak about players that are not our players.
I know, I've got to ask anyway. But if we go back to Saturday, you're saying you don't have the depth that you wanted, but still you're pleased with the performance, so that's got to be a positive, surely.
Yes, definitely. I'm repeating and I'm saying every time the same thing because the players, they deserve it. They deserve to listen from me. All the credits to them. The way they started working from the pre-season, first day of pre-season. In some moments with not numbers, with not in the best scenario as well, but they have been really good professionals with a high motivation always behind them. All of us in the same page, and of course after we are enjoying the challenge. That is the truth. Of course, was a tough result for us. The players, they deserve to get something more from that game. Definitely is my. After the match, I had that opinion. Analyzing the match, I have even more this opinion. And all credits to them, all the credits to them, and of course the desire that you are showing, the spirit that you are showing every time on the pitch. Of course, with quality, with organization, with ambition as well. I think is really being I'm really pleased for them, and we have to keep in the same way. Of course, you have a big room to improve, and there are definitely some things on the ball that we should keep working to improve off the ball as well. But I'm really pleased the way we are doing.
What are the takeaways?
Fulham facing Brighton tomorrow. That's Marco Silva speaking live on Sky Sports News. He says it's so clear the board has known since last April and May what the plan was. Unfortunately, they're coming in late talking about any potential new arrivals. Marco Silva talking live there. Let's bring in Portuguese football expert Pedro Sepulveda now. Good afternoon to you, Pedro. Great to see you. You've been all over Cristiano Ronaldo and his situation this summer. Now, we've been reporting that his agent has held talks with Napoli over a move. Can you see him being able to get that move done before Thursday night?
Hello, nice to meet you again too. No, I don't think Cristiano Ronaldo will move to Napoli, and nowadays I really think that Cristiano Ronaldo will not go anywhere. He will stay in Manchester United this season. For me, this transfer window, this situation about Cristiano Ronaldo, it's insane. How many clubs were Ronaldo associated to? I'm not saying that Mendes had conversations with all of them. I cannot confirm that, but all of them had come to public saying that they don't want Cristiano Ronaldo. Does Cristiano Ronaldo needed that in the end of his career? Because of course he's still playing at a high level, but he is not a young player. And does Cristiano Ronaldo needs to do that, all of this association to so many clubs, and in the end he will stay in Manchester United, which is probably what's going to happen? I don't really understand, but this situation, this Napoli transfer possibility, I don't think that it's real.
Hi Pedro, have you been surprised that no clubs have come in for Ronaldo, considering his stance? He wanted Champions League football.
Yes, he wants Champions League football, and to be honest, for me, it's a surprise that no one wants Cristiano Ronaldo. This sentence that I just said, that no one wants Cristiano Ronaldo, it's so strange to say it because we are talking about one of the best players of all the time, but this sentence nowadays, it's completely truth. Because Ronaldo wanted to go to Bayern Munich, and Bayern Munich doesn't want him. Ronaldo wants to go to a team that can play the Champions League and that can fight for the title of the Champions League, and those teams doesn't want Ronaldo. This is difficult, and I really think that Ronaldo is not leading well with that.
Pedro's Mark, there's not long left in the window, and Manchester United have been very clear, like you say, he is not for sale. But if we go back to this time last year, it was a very similar time frame when he left Juventus to join Manchester United. So is there still a chance that we can get a deal done? How do you see this ending?
Yes, I think Ronaldo made the same strategy to leave Manchester United that he has done with Juventus. With Juventus, he was successful, but I really think that this time in Manchester United, it's not going to be like that. Because this time Manchester United wants him to stay, and it's so strange to see those images that we are looking those past weeks. If you look at Manchester United, they are playing with Ronaldo on the bench, but at the same time, they want to keep him. I really think that Ronaldo, again, doesn't need this on the end of his career. And the strategy that, as you said, it was successful in Juventus, I really think that it will not work this time in Manchester United.
The fairy tale, of course, would be Sporting Lisbon. Would that ever be a move that's financially possible?
Yes, here in Portugal, it was a rumor that Cristiano Ronaldo could join Sporting Lisbon, but I don't really think where it came from, because it makes no sense. No sense for Ronaldo's part, because in his head it's too early to join Sporting Lisbon. I really think that he could come to Sporting Lisbon, but not nowadays. And even from Sporting side, even from the manager that Sporting has nowadays, Ruben Amorim, it's not the kind of player for the project of Sporting nowadays. I don't know where it came from, but I'm 100% sure that Ronaldo will not join Sporting Lisbon.
Pedro, great to see you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. A pleasure, Nicole.
Still to come, so many of you got involved with our summer signing five-a-side teams. We'll bring you the thoughts of the Brighton manager Graham Potter as well in a little bit, so stand by.
Welcome back to Transfer Talk. Earlier on today, I promised a transfer update for Doncaster Rovers fans. And during Good Morning Transfers, Gary McSheffrey sent me in the very latest. Here's what he's had to say.
Morning, Mark. Gary McSheffrey here, manager of Doncaster Rovers. Just a summary and reflection on our transfer window so far this summer. We feel we got, quite a lot of bits done early. I feel we needed to add some real energy and legs to the team, and we did that in the likes of Harrison Biggins, Kyle Hurst, George Miller. We've added some real quality young prospects as well, giving out some first pro contracts to some good young players. And we've brought some real quality in Luke Molyneux, and the icing on the cake really Lee Tomlin for the level. He's a top player. Obviously there's always things going on behind the scenes, there's succession planning for the future, but we don't feel we need to have to rush into anything in the next few days. We've started quite well. I feel the team's in a good place, starting to take shape now, and we have some excellent players as well still on the physio table that should be back in the next few weeks. So what we don't want to do is stockpile players. Like I say, we've started pretty well. If anything does happen, we will keep you in the loop, but we won't be rushing into anything. As I say, we feel we're in a good place.
They've definitely had a great start to the season, haven't they? Big thank you to Gary and all of the managers that have sent in updates during the course of this summer, and no thanks to those that have ignored me. There's a lot of them. I won't mention any names.
Brilliant. Premier League managers reaching us all the time. We've already brought you Patrick Vieira and Marco Silva live. Now, Marco Silva's Fulham play Brighton tomorrow, so let's get the thoughts of the Brighton manager, Graham Potter.
There's a few big clubs looking at Moises Caicedo again. Is he somebody that you see with you, at least for this season? Can you rule out him leaving before the transfer deadline?
Well, it doesn't surprise me that people are looking at him because he's playing at a fantastic level, and as soon as you do your research on him, you realise he's a top kid. Great person, young, playing in the Premier League, has all the attributes to play at the very, very highest level. So no surprise, but we know the position that he's in, and we know the position that the club are in, which is we don't want to lose him, and we don't think we will. But in football, you never know. That's how it is. But we're quite calm and confident.
When I mentioned the figure that had been mooted to a couple of people that know Brighton very well, 42 million, their eyes lit up and said, "What, is that just for half of him?" Is that good? With 42 is nowhere near what you think his value would be.
I think you'd probably get his boots for that, for the chairman. Yeah, I think maybe. Knowing the chairman, yeah. That's not for me to talk about, but that's sure. It is what it is. It's sure. Just
somebody very close who knows Brighton well said, "Get closer to 100."
They can try.
Yeah, Graham Potter, pretty confident there that I don't think anybody's going to match the value that they have on Moises Caicedo. He was, remember, on Manchester United's list during this transfer window. We're going to move on and talk West Ham now. They beat Aston Villa by a goal to nil at Villa Park yesterday. They're still looking to strengthen Lucas Paquetá, set to sign after completing a medical. He will become West Ham's 8th summer signing. Michael, big deal for this, and they're really backing David Moyes here.
Well, Mark was talking about the biggest spenders in Europe. We had the biggest spenders table, and I think that would move West Ham right near to the top. Yeah, a very, very big deal indeed. He's a player mentioned all summer, linked with Newcastle United, Arsenal, tentative links with Tottenham, young, Brazilian international, very creative, potentially an upgrade on the number 10s they've already got. Obviously, last week we reported a €40 million bid. Looked like would West Ham walk away. Lyon are a hard club to deal with usually. They've got a number of great players, but they're always a tough nut to crack over the years. But West Ham persevered, and it looks like David Moyes has got his man ahead of a big game Wednesday night against Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, you saw West Ham yesterday. Did they look short in any areas for you?
I thought they looked a bit toothless. It was two poor teams yesterday at Villa Park, and West Ham ended up coming out on top. I think he's obviously an upgrade on the players that they've got there. They've got a nice little collection of players that can play as a number 10 or kind of play out wide. I think he fits into that realm, but he's an upgrade on what they already have there. I think it's weird with West Ham because Moyes has been backed. He's got players in the building, players that are an improvement. He's now got a bigger squad, a bigger pool of players to choose from, David Moyes. But it's not quite there. West Ham fans were celebrating having a shot at one point yesterday, which is never a great sign. Obviously, they've only scored 1 goal this season, so I do think when it all comes together, I do think they'll get a rhythm and they'll move up the league. But he's a fantastic signing. I think he's a good player.
I must say, and Mark, you and David will vouch for this as well, how honest David Moyes is over the last few weeks in terms of player recruitment, and he's been very honest. I think he made a point the other day. He said fans would laugh at some of the players they've made bids for, but they won't be laughing at this because, you know, this does seem like a very serious signing, so he'll be very pleased that he's been back, because he did say to me a few weeks ago he felt the squad needs a bit of a freshen up. Well, they're certainly doing that.
Absolutely, yeah. I just want to talk a little bit about some players that might be on the move before the deadline. Anthony Gordon is one of those. Mark, briefly, is it going to be stay or go for Anthony Gordon?
Stay. I think it's a tricky one. He might not ever get the opportunity to join a club like Chelsea ever again. So that's why he would himself say, you know, I need to take this move. This is my opportunity to play for a huge club. However, for his own development, he needs to stay at Everton, where he's loved. He's the first name on the team sheet, and 38 Premier League games this season will mean that this time next year he might get a better move than Chelsea, or he might get more wages or whatever, because I think he'll be one of the most improved players if he stays where he is.
We talked a little bit about Yuri Tielemans on Good Morning Transfers. Christian Pulisic at Chelsea, do we think that he will stay or go by the deadline?
I think he could probably do with going, but I think he'll end up staying. He's one of those interesting players that he doesn't... For the World Cup, we talk about players needing to play. For him, it doesn't really matter whether he's playing or not, because he's still their star man, whatever happens. So he may find himself well rested before the World Cup. I think he probably needs to go, but I think he'll end up staying at Chelsea.
There's a number of clubs that are interested in Pulisic. He could be a mover.
And Michael, your thoughts on Ainsley Maitland-Niles at Arsenal?
Yeah, I think he'll go out on deadline day. I think that will happen. So there's my prediction for that one. Yeah.
We've got time as well, before we go, just to talk about our five-a-side team. This was our summer signings, and we wanted you to get involved as well with hashtag transfer talk. Just quickly, Dan, remind us of your team here.
I'm going to be reminding myself of the team as well. This morning feels a long time ago. Yeah, Pope in goal, Martinez. I won't recycle my overhead height joke for the five-a-side team. Paulinho, I think, has been excellent for Fulham so far. A really astute signing for them. A player who's going to play for a really big club at some point, I think. And then I think Haaland and Jesus pick themselves. Surprised I'm the only person that's put Jesus in the team. That feels like a massive oversight from the three of you.
I gave Arsenal an A grade last week. I can't keep doing stuff like that.
I'll put yourself through it.
Yeah.
Michael, this is your team?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking at it now. You know, you three were, mate. This was so important to you three. I was just whacking names out there, but yeah. It's probably a little bit too conservative for a five-a-side, isn't it? Yeah. But look, let's talk Adams, because I think he's been brilliant. A good signing for Jesse Marsh.
He has. I went with Pope in goal. Ben Mee, bit of controversial one. Zinchenko was my kind of midfielder defender. Gibbs White for his ball carrying. Obviously Erling Haaland. We've had a substitution though since Good Morning Transfers, Mark, haven't we?
Yeah,
This was your original team.
Yeah, I caved into some pressure from social media and Joby McAnuff, and that was my original team. I thought that was going to be successful. I like Tyler Adams, the same as Michael, and then obviously Sterling and Haaland up front. And I saw the way that your sides had played out, and you'd gone really defensive. So I went, I'm going to go attacking with my changes.
Wow.
I've got Raheem Sterling in goal. I've got Jesus. I've got Haaland. I've got Nunez, who will bring the aggression. And I've got Skamaka. So I think that side there...
You've messed around and your team's still better than Dave's. That's the thing there.
Thank you very much. You can have your say on hashtag transfer talk as well. Good Morning Transfers returns tomorrow at 9 a.m. Do tune in for that. We've also got a full roundup of the transfers as well on Transfer Talk. That's tomorrow at midday. And the transfer show is at 5 and 7 this evening. Bit of news reaching us. Wolves have agreed a deal with Stuttgart for striker Sasa Kalajic. This news just reaching us. Fee is thought to be €18 million plus add-ons. Medical happening tomorrow. Mark, Michael, Dan, thanks very much. You're already one step ahead of Willy Bolly because you've turned up for work today. Thank you very much. Coming up next on Sky Sports News, we've got plenty more transfer news to come. We're with a host of Premier League managers ahead of the midweek fixtures too.